Welcome to Rock Your Midlife. I'm Dr. Ellen Albertson, the Midlife Whisperer, and I am thrilled that you are here because this is the podcast where we help you get unstuck and find the energy, confidence, and clarity to make your next chapter your best chapter. And we have an incredible guest today. I am going to be talking with the beautiful Alexis. I'll let her pronounce her last name myself because I will butcher it.
You won't. Us Asians, you can do it. Asianness.
Alexis Asia, Asinus,
Asianness.
Asinus.
Asianness.
And
Asianness.
Asianness.
Oh.
And today we're going to be talking all about, if you're watching on YouTube, wisdom is beautiful. Yes, we're going to be talking all about how you can actually become more beautiful, more confident, feel better about your looks. And also, we're going to be talking a little bit about, actually, a lot about going silver, because let's face it, silver is sexy. There are millions of women right now who are saying, I am so done with dyeing my hair. And the amazing thing I find when I talk to women who have decided to embrace their natural color is that they're like, oh my God, I love this. Like, why did I wait so long to do this thing? But before we dive in with Alexis and talk about her amazing company, she's actually created a whole line. I've been using the products. This is Rouser. It's called Silvering. There's this incredible product where you actually put drops of the what do you call it, Alexis? The
A concentrated toning mix.
Tony mix into
Yeah.
your favorite product,
Tonal
which is
control.
brilliant. So we'll get
Mhm.
into that. But I wanted to share a story with you before we sort of dive into all of the joys of going silver. I was talking with a client the other day, and she was saying to me, "Oh my God, Dr. Ellen, I just look in the mirror and I look so old." And I said to her, I was like, what is wrong with looking old? Like, how did we get to this point where somehow in our 40s, 50s, 60s, we're supposed to look like our 20-year-old self? Like, I don't want to look like my 20-year-old self. Like, I love how I look more this day, today, than any other time in my life. I love how my body looks. I love how my face looks.
Mhm.
And I guess part of it is for me was really learning self-compassion. What my research showed is that practicing self-compassion actually improves your body image. It reduces body
Mhm.
shame, body dissatisfaction, self-worth based on appearance, and improves body appreciation and face as well. Like, I look at myself in the mirror with these soft eyes and I'm like, I love you. And it's not being egotistical. It's about really loving yourself, which is so key to rocking your midlife. So, I was having this conversation and she thought about it for a minute. She's like, yeah, what is wrong with looking older? And I had another conversation with a girlfriend of one of my stepson, and she was like telling me how all of her friends and sisters are all getting Botox in their 20s. And I'm thinking,
Oh
what?
boy.
Why are we
Oh
spending
boy.
all of this time, money, and energy? And, there are a couple of reasons. I mean, first, we're taught as
Conditioning.
women that the most
Mhm.
important thing about us is our looks. And I'm
Mm.
here to say to you, the most important thing about you isn't your looks, unless you're a supermodel. But let's face it, how many of us are supermodels? I think that's such a relief to realize, you know what? My looks are not the most important thing about me. Yes, look cute. I'm all about like
Mhm.
fashion and fun, and I'm wearing the great Wisdom is Beautiful t-shirt from
Yes, it
Silver, right?
is.
I
Yeah.
want to look cute. We want to feel good, but it's not the most important thing. And then this whole issue about younger is better. And the media
Mhm.
wants us to feel bad about ourselves because if we loved ourselves, if we liked our looks, we wouldn't buy all of the things. So today we're going to be talking a lot
Mhm.
about how going silver, embracing your natural hair color, can really transform your life. And it really is true. I mean, not only are you going to save time and money, let's face it, like how much time do you spend on your hair, going to the colorist? I was actually talking to another friend of mine at the hair salon. I was just saying goodbye to her in Costa Rica. It's my first show back here in Vermont. And she had that cap on and the dye was coming
Mhm.
in. And I was just like, I'm so glad I don't have to do this anymore.
Yeah.
So there's the
You're like, I can
financial,
smell it.
yeah, smelling it, the financial savings, the reduced exposure to toxic chemicals. I mean, you
Mhm.
are putting toxic stuff on your head. And as a breast cancer survivor, I'm like
Mm.
all about whether you're, dealing with trying to prevent cancer or any other diseases, we just don't need more toxicity in our lives. So reducing toxic exposure, healthier hair. This is another thing women realize, and I'm sure Alexis will share more about that in her products and how they really enhance your hair. Your hair is healthier without all of that stuff. Simplified beauty routine. I mean, for me, I just like use the silvering products and I am good to go. I don't have to worry about that kind of line going down the middle of my head or any of those things. It's super simple. Environmental benefits. I mean, so this stuff is getting dumped into our lakes, our oceans. So it's
Mhm.
not good for the environment. And I guess the biggest thing for me is embracing authenticity. Something
Mhm.
magical happens to all of the women that I know and I work with and I see on Instagram when they start to embrace not just the hair, but the sense that I can love the way I look. I'm totally fine. If you love coloring your hair and that's your look, I'm not at all. This show is not today about
100%.
saying
Yeah.
that you've got to color your hair. It's really about saying embrace your 40, 50, 60, or 70-year-old self. There's this pressure that
100%.
yeah, women have, right? To stay looking the way we did when we were 26. And it's like crazy,
It's,
crazy,
you
crazy,
know,
crazy. So, each of us, it helps you really embrace your authenticity, who you truly are now, and 2024 and this day. And also, I think it's really helping with these cultural shifts. Every single woman who shows up and says, you know what, I'm embracing who I am, I'm not trying to look some way I did decades ago. We're sending a really powerful message that, wisdom
yeah.
is beautiful and that we are here, we're demanding to be seen. And that's a huge cultural shift. So I'm going to
Mhm.
bring Alexis on because I know she's just chomping up the bit to jump in. We've had so many conversations where I've been like, oh my God, let's hit
Like, let me talk.
record.
Let me talk.
Yeah, let me talk. So let me,
No.
Alexis Eizinas is the founder of
Hey. Well
Silvering,
done.
the first North American beauty brand to provide cosmetics and hair care uniquely designed to amplify. I love that amplify, not hide the true beauty of naturally silvering hair, leveraging over 30 years of experience in the beauty industry and her experience trying to find products that worked with her own silvering hair. And I love that term, silvering. Let's like go silvering. I love that. Alexis has is created a truly innovative and contemporary product line for the modern woman who has embraced her grays. Silvering launched in 2023, and the company's tagline, which I love, wisdom is beautiful. Yes, wisdom is beautiful, speaks volumes about Alexis's mission to change the way all women perceive silvering hair, to see it as a powerful, beautiful outward expression of growing up. Welcome to Rock Your Midlife, Alexis. So good to have you here.
Thank you, Alan. Really glad to be here. I'm really happy that we can take our kind of offline chats online.
There's so much wisdom to share. So I guess the first
Oof.
question is, tell me a little bit about your silvering journey and kind
Mm.
of how you came up with this. Like, did it happen in this shower? I can just imagine you like washing your hair and thinking, there's no
What the
products
heck?
for me. And wisdom is beautiful. Tell me about your whole evolution and how you came about developing this amazing company.
Well, let me tell you, it all started when I started silvering myself, and that was back in 2008. And my past, I've been in the beauty space, and I think a lot of most women, live with beauty every day. But my relationship to beauty has been a lot more intimate, we'll say. I was a fashion model in the 90s, and that took me around the world for 10 years. That was a whole different career in life, but that taught me like a little bit of entrepreneurship. Like that was a business that I kind of ran on my own, going from country to country, getting my savings. But more importantly, I got to see how beauty is treated in different cultures. My experience with some of the best hair and makeup artists in the world, and like what were they doing and like how were they doing it, and what was important. And I'll tell you something. These makeup artists, they're the best ones would find something that makes you you and amplify it. They're like, what is it that makes you different from, that beautiful girl sitting next to you? And like, let's focus on that and amplify that. And that was a real that seed was really planted early, early. And then I came back to Canada, got a quote unquote real job, and as a industrial designer, and I ended up as a creative director in the beauty space. Found my way back to beauty. This time designing and manufacturing displays and environments for cosmetics brands. And the company I was working with was one of the biggest in the world. We worked with everybody from Chanel to Sephora, to CoverGirl and Almay, like, and everything in between. So as part of that life, I had all the products cross my desk, all the products. So boom, 2008, I'm in the middle of my career. Um, and I stopped dyeing my hair because I was pregnant with my son. And you mentioned, this idea of chemicals and like, it's really not good. And as an older pregnant woman, I was 30, 35, like coming on 36, everything was risky. Like they were, all the doctors like, it's very risky. You have to be very careful. And I was very paranoid. So I stopped dyeing my hair and let my silvers grow free. And, um, and I loved it. I loved it. It became a bit of a calling card. It became kind of the, something that I was able to own as part of my own style. And because I was working in the beauty industry, like I really wanted to look chic and put together. And I found that there there were no products for me. There wasn't a product line for silver hair. I mean, the only thing that was ever available for women with silvering hair was a prescription of purple shampoo. Here you go. There you go. And everything else will be just fine. You just use everything else. And the reality is like we can't use everything else. Our hair, everything shows up on our hair. Brow shades, that was my biggest problem, was trying to find an eyebrow shade that worked with silvers. And then all of the other things that start happening as you get older, with hair thinning and what products can you use, and hair dryness and what products can you use. And there was nothing out there. So I settled, and I know a lot of other women settled, with kind of, okay, this is good enough, or just lots of questions and kind of like, okay, here's another product I'm going to throw into the landfill. And then kind of smash cut to 2020, 2020, 2020, 2020, COVID. Sorry.
COVID, yeah, that's what a
Yeah.
lot of
It's
us.
like,
I think
ah,
that's when things really took off because all of a sudden the salons
yeah.
were closed and people
Yeah.
were not going to reunions, weddings, into work, and it was amazing. And I just sort of, and that's kind of I think when
Yeah.
I got on Instagram too, and just started seeing like all of these silver influencers where women were just
Yes.
doing it. It was kind of like, okay, what did you do during COVID? I grew my hair out.
That's right. And so many people did. And I was like one of these women online. I was watching as the whole world kind of turned silver, and watched as newspaper reports were like, oh my goodness, and some women are keeping it. And I'm like, wait, the reality is, and this, um, that once you let your hair go silver, it's amazing. It feels incredible. So it's no surprise to anybody who has let their hair kind of silver and have got people who have gotten rid of the dye. Um, it's no surprise that you want to keep it, but it's just like, now what do you do? So I was part of all those Facebook groups, and I was watching, and I was like trying to contribute in my way. It's like, what do I do with my brows? I'm like, okay, well, if you do this and do this, and you can find this, um, and I thought, this is dumb. Somebody should really do something about this. Somebody should just, you know, clarify, what the hair, figure out what products are going to work, and create a line for silvering women. And I thought, well, it should be somebody who's silvering themselves. It should be somebody with contacts in the industry. It should be somebody. And I was like, hold on a second. I can do this. I think I can do this. And maybe it's like, looking back, it's a lot of hubris, but I did have connections. And through my past 30 years in the industry, I made friends with founders and all kinds of people in the beauty industry who I could, tap on the shoulder and say, hey, I've got this idea. How do you think I can go about doing it? And very generous people, a lot of question marks, like, are you sure this is a thing? And I'm just like, it's a thing. I know it's a thing. And that's what I mean. It took and I really believe it took somebody who's silvering themselves to see that giant hole in the market and come up with products to fill it. And that's what I did.
Yeah, and they're brilliant. And what I love about it is, I mean, there are a lot of companies now who have jumped on and creating, a shampoo, a conditioner. But what's so
Mhm.
different about, well, it's also your brand just feels so good. Like I just love
Yeah.
this, wisdom is beautiful vibe that you have. If you're watching, the products are beautiful. They're very modern, very contemporary. And it also, what's really cool is that you actually have things to kind of help people in the grow out process. Because I mean, I know my grow out process was I did it twice. So I did it
Did you?
once, and I think I think I was in Vermont. My hair was curly. It didn't seem like I had the big, I never liked it. I mean, I started coloring my hair, gosh, probably in my 30s. I had a streak
Yeah.
in my 20s, a streak. And I sort of, for a while, I kept that streak, and I would dye all
Yeah.
the rest. And then I guess I moved to Vermont and I was just like, not, I've done a lot of work in the media and I wasn't in front of the camera or anything. And I was like, all right, I just stopped. Like, I guess when I moved here, I didn't find a hairdresser and do that. And then I was doing this brand, and my business partner insisted that I color my hair and be my 40-year-old self. And the whole brand didn't work. It was this whole smasher scale brand. It totally imploded. We spent all this money, time. I
Oh
wasn't being
no.
authentic. I was trying to be my 40-year-old self when
Mm,
I had just turned 50. So I colored it all. And then
get
I
that.
went back and I haven't looked back, but
It's
I
okay.
think it
And
helps
a
with
lot of growth comes with that grow out, doesn't it?
yeah,
A
yeah,
lot
being
of
looking
things
at
grow.
yourself
Mm-hmm.
and realizing, yeah, I'm a 40, 50, 60-year-old woman and I am proud of all of the
Yeah.
grays and the wrinkles and everything that's gotten here. But talk a little bit about how these
Mm.
products actually help that grow out process.
Sure. So the product you were holding up, tonal control, it's a debrasser. It's also good for if you have yellowing due to, thanks. I feel like, could you hold up the product? If you have yellowing due to damage, like heat damage, it's debrassing removes the yellow, neutralizes. But for the grow out, it's you could use it to neutralize the old dye because dyes are hypersaturated. They're just hypersaturated, and um, when your natural color comes through, it's just not that shade, and it just kind of helps to even out, kind of and calm that difference. Because a lot of the times the problem with the grow out and that kind of uncomfortable period is because you've got some cool tones and you've got some warm tones and they're all happening at the same time. So the tonal control will be able to cool down those warmer ends. Now, tonal control, what it is, they're concentrated toning drops. So instead of reaching for I'll say it, a one size fits all purple shampoo, conditioner, mask, what you have the ability to do is control the intensity of the toning. So you can add as little as one drop to maintain brightness, or as many as three or four, or even five drops if you wanted to create an intense toning. And what you do, you just add it to a dose of your regular shampoo or conditioner. You don't have to buy another plastic bottle. Like that's again part of our ethos is definitely around sustainability. So you'll see those hair care products, they're glass bottles, and even though they do have plastic caps, those are all post-consumer recycled resins. We made it like a real conscious effort to be good, right? Because hair, like everything feels good. We want to amplify that good feeling. And part of that is knowing that the products you're choosing are not crappy for the planet. um,
But this is
tonal,
brilliant too,
yeah.
because I mean, how did you come up with this idea instead of
Mm,
buying the purple shampoo, purple conditioner? And like you said, I've got curly hair, so I use, curly hair products
right.
that someone can actually add it to whatever products they already love. When did this, I'm
Yeah.
just curious, it was the aha moment, like you're in the shower and thinking, why don't I create a product that you can just add to the things you already use instead of having to have, a new conditioner, a new leave-in conditioner, a new shampoo, and just have like
It's
one thing does it all.
it's frustration, right? And it's that expectation that here's that prescription of purple shampoo that you're going to get, and it's just not enough. It's not good enough. And most of the purple shampoos on the market dry your hair out. Or a lot of women experience that sense of having their hair dried out because again, that one shampoo isn't going to work for somebody in a dry climate like mine or a humid climate like Costa Rica. Like you have the products that you already love that you want to hold on to. So this is it's just paying attention to women's needs. That's how I came up with it.
Yeah, it's a brilliant idea. So I'm curious, like,
Thanks.
what do you find, and what do if someone's listening, and I love your insight too, because you were a fashion model. So I mean, your looks were
Mhm.
super
That
important.
was a long time ago. Let's
But
remind.
how have you sort of embraced your beauty, and how can we help other women who are feeling this, oh my gosh, I'm just like really scared of that authenticity of just being that 50, 60, 70-year-old woman and looking at myself and going, my gosh, I'm an older woman. Like, how do we start to change that inner dialogue we have with ourselves and in the greater
So
sense,
much.
create the
It's
cultural change?
there is so much. There's so many women doing this work. Like, and I think aesthetic, like from my end, leaning into that authenticity piece with the silvering hair is very specific. But from my point of view, and it's not gonna be the same for everybody. But again, going back to those days when I was modeling, the the act of finding that thing about you that makes you more you is going to drive confidence. Like, what is it about, you know, what you look like? But it's not even just about what you look like. What is it about your skills? What is it about your personality? What is it that, you know, and we talk about leaning into authenticity. What is it about yourself that you can pay attention to? Because we, you know, after 40, after 50, we stop paying so much attention to trying to be somebody for somebody else. And we're leaning closer towards being somebody for ourselves and finding out what makes you happy, what makes you um, tick, you know, and finding that thing and amplifying that thing is one piece of the puzzle. It's just that one piece of the puzzle. But we have been so conditioned to first of all judge other women, um, and conditioned to look at youth as something to aspire to, which is impossible and silly. Because I don't know about you. I mean, I had, you know, a great time in my 20s, but I don't want to go back there. I wouldn't exchange everything that I've learned for that body and skin and, you know, of my 20-year-old self. There's like so much more to being human, and being yeah, it's just delightful. It's delightful growing up. And I think being able to change even just that little piece of it, and that's what we're doing. Well, we're trying to do with silvering is change the way that all women and girls see silvering hair, to see it as aspirational and chic, because it is, right? Um, but if you don't see it, you can't be it. You can't aspire to it. So part of what we're doing is trying to like put more women out there, trying to frame silvering women as like a real beauty option in the beauty aisles, right? Because it's a validation. If you see products made for women with silvering hair, when you're in your 30s, you know, the average age that women start to silver is 35. Um, when it comes to that point where you're no longer coloring your hair just for fun, but you're chasing your roots, you know,
Mhm.
and all the stigma that comes with that, you can see that, like, hey, you know what? I don't have to color my hair. I can go on this journey and be like, that's going to look awesome, and continue, you know, with your regular old life.
Yeah, it is a really valid option. And I see this with women
Yeah.
all the time. All of the Silver Sisters on Instagram, they're all like,
Yeah.
you can't get this in a bottle. The highlights, like my hair is so
No.
many different colors. And if you're looking at Instagram, it's like there's so many
Yes.
different colors and
So
shades. And the
dynamic.
cool thing about silver hair too is I guess it's actually clear. And so in
Yes.
different light, my hair looks different every single day,
Yes.
depending on what kind of light I'm in. I mean, it feels amazing. And I love that whole piece. Like I wouldn't go back to that time, but I'm also here to say that I'm 61 and I feel effing fantastic. I mean, you can see I've got, major muscle mass.
Woo!
My skin's still great. I mean, your diet, your movement, your stress, your sleep. You can
Mm.
still look extraordinarily beautiful. Like I like the way I look more now than I certainly did in my 20s. I was much more self-conscious, didn't know myself, didn't love
Mm.
myself. So I think that's a big key. I love what you said about finding your strengths. So finding that
Yeah.
beautiful thing that you like about yourself, or that signature piece that you like to jewelry, or something that you like to wear all the time that stands out
Yeah.
for you. It's a lot of clients like, get some cool glasses, or you're inspiring me to like get a red lipstick. I'm really kind of
Yeah.
shy about wearing a red
Red
lipstick.
lipsticks with silvers.
Um,
Oh, it's so fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
and dress the way you
Punchy.
want to dress. I did an amazing True Style journey last year. with an incredible stylist named Lisa, and we spent like 6 months like working on our wardrobe. And you have so many amazing women out there who are dressing the way that they want to dress. Like there's I want
Clothing.
to say there are no rules. And if you're
No.
culling your hair because you feel like it's this cultural, societal thing that you have to do, then maybe it's time to question that. And I don't know, do you have any suggestions for other things about the grow up period? Because it wasn't really hard for me, but I can imagine for a lot of women, I see a lot of women who cut it all off, and then I see a
Mhm.
lot of women who like let it all grow and go long. Any
Yeah,
thoughts
they're trying
about,
to keep a length.
yeah, wearing a
It's
hat for, a year? What do you
it's
do?
totally individual, and some women go the salon route and have their grays augmented, pulled out, and bleached out. And that's whatever's going to work for you. Like, again, we judge women too much. However you want to go about it, you go about it, and it's okay. And if you don't want to color your hair, that's okay too. But if you are going through your grow out, I think it's hard because you start to face questions, right? And other people will, and I don't know why, but women especially, they're like, "What are you doing to your hair?" Uh, Out loud. You're like, "What is?" You never comment about other things, but for some reason, if I've stopped coloring my hair, it's an invitation to comment, and it's like, honestly, it's not. But thank you. Um, so I think for a lot of women it's facing the whys, and you're forced to kind of reestablish your relationship with beauty, rethinking, why you were doing it in the first place, and kind of changing your perspective on what those cultural norms are and where they came from. I'm very lucky. My mom, she stopped dyeing her hair when she was around 50. And so I had somebody. Could I could see it, so I knew that I could be it. And she was fabulous. She went to work with, it was the 80s, big hair, big shoulder pads, and I was like, geez, when so for me there wasn't really a question. And I think for a lot of women, like if you don't see it, or if you've been surrounded by parents, um, uh, and of course a society that tells you this is what you're supposed to be doing, it's a very hard thing to break, you know?
Yeah, I think that what you said earlier, though, too, is just this. And what I find, I have a lot of women come to me and they're just turning 50 and they're just kind of like, I just don't feel like myself. It's like I have been, what I describe it is you're kind of climbing up this ladder of success based on pleasing other people and living up to cultural norms. And you get to the top of the building and you look around, you go like, wait a minute, I did all the things I was supposed to do, and here I
Right.
am,
But I
and I'm
think
not happy. And like, who am I really? And I think that the hair, and I think menopause, we haven't talked about menopause at
oh,
all. That's
here we go.
that's a big piece of,
Yeah.
I don't feel like me in my body, or my body's really speaking to me. Like you said, we could sort of sail through our 20s and 30s, maybe not taking such good care of ourselves. And all of a sudden we come up with these hormonal changes, which affect everything. Estrogen receptors are all over the body. And so
Oh
all of
my
a sudden it's
gosh.
like,
Yeah.
but you get it,
There's a
you have
lot.
a choice. If you're listening, you have a choice. You can keep doing the same old thing and not feel great and wondering where you are, or you can decide, you know what, I'm going to take my little ladder and going to figure out a new building. And
Yeah.
you're not quite sure what that building is going to look like. Like, is it going to be a duplex? Is it going to be, a cottage
I
in the
love that
country?
analogy.
But that's,
There's
that's the exciting thing. Like for me, moving to Costa Rica, I like, if you had told me us, 2, 3 years ago, like you're going to go live in Costa Rica, I'd been like, what? But the
well,
universe was like, I fell in love with this country. I fell in love with this house. We somehow
yeah.
were able to like swing it financially, and I love it. And
And
that
you
was just
found
the
you
universe.
found your midlife solution,
Yeah, one of them.
right?
But
Yeah.
I think that moving there too is just an opportunity to be so me with a new community. And I think I hear this
Mm,
a lot from women. I hear a lot of women who are moving places because it's like, I want a clean slate.
that's a great idea. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's midlife crises have been talked about about men for a long time. And it shouldn't be surprising because so much focus is put on, our roles as mothers and aunts and around midlife. The working world, a lot of focus has always been put there. So once you kind of pass through that time in your life, there aren't a whole lot of, I mean, it's changing, resources and ideas and focus. And like you said, all that advertising spend goes towards the youth. All of that promotion goes towards a different generation and kind of stays in that age range. Um, and and it's not a surprise that when you come through that period of your life that there's okay, now what? Now what? And who am I? And what have I done? And okay, so the kids are alive and they're off at school. You're dealing with again an aging generation. Your life changes, and I think that's first of all, we're very lucky that we make it this far. Um, but I think it's just so almost it should be expected, you know, because we've not had a space um, for a space or resources for women of this age.
But we're
Yeah.
changing that. We are
Oh,
creating them right now. If you are
yes.
listening, you are part of that. And,
Yes,
the marketers are changing too. I mean, I
they
get a lot
are.
of influencer work. I don't know if I'm model ready, but they're realizing that midlife women want to see other midlife women. We don't want some 20-year-old selling us stuff. We want to see
Right.
people of our generation. And if you're listening to, buy those products and services and things that are really that get you, that want to support you. And I think that conversation is
That
really
is really
starting to
important.
change. And and we have lots and lots of options. Like you don't
Yeah.
have to look the way that you did when you were 20. And I think like your product is so beautiful to say that we can be beautiful in our 40s, 50s, 60s,
Yeah.
70s. So
Yeah.
I think that is a major, major shift. So
And I think there's also media. You take a look at the movies and the movie stars and the fact that more women are writing, producing, and directing film and television shows. This is changing perspective. I mean, there's that classic, and this is what we grew up with. Like, how do you look at women? You look at them from the heels to the back of the calves to their butts, right? Like that's the camera pan. And that's how we've been taught to look at women, right? And so you have to remember like every aspect that we grew up with was telling us something very specific. And I think it's wonderful now that we've got so many more women who are showing the world through a different lens, and I think this is just it can only be great for the next generation of women and girls coming up. We're making it a little bit easier for the next generations, one generation at a time, but it's going to take time. Yeah.
yeah, we're making huge changes, and I think the
Yeah.
generation's the first to sort of look at fertility issues and get
Mm,
that. And now we're really looking at menopause. We have this whole new institute for women. We're actually putting money into research on women's health. We are getting
crazy.
seeing some shifts in Hollywood, and so it's great to be
Yeah.
part of this movement. So if you are listening, you can be part of this movement too. I want to encourage you to check out Silvering. What's your website, Alexis?
Silveringbeauty.com. All one word.
silveringbeauty.com, and
Silvering.
everything, it
Yep.
looks like it is fabrique in Canada. So
Fabriqué en
fabrique
Canada.
on Canada, and beautiful. Just I love the look, the feel, and actually get
Thank
it in
you.
the smell. Beautiful and all natural, of course. It's just a
Yeah.
beautiful product. I mean, I just find that
Thank
such a
you.
beautiful part of self-care is surrounding
Yes.
yourself with products that feel good. And so if you're really tired of that, getting your hair colored and going through all of that, you do have options. So I hope today's show
Yeah.
has helped you realize that. Any parting words of wisdom, Alexis?
Mm. Um, I would say I would say that wisdom is beautiful. Like that is our tagline, but it's also very meaningful. We've earned every one of these silver streaks. It's time to show them off.
Yeah, I love that. So you have earned your silvers, and there's so much support. I'm here to support you if you are struggling at midlife. And I have to say, I think I don't know a woman who hasn't struggled with something at midlife.
Mm,
Do reach out. It's the midlifewhisperer.com. That's the midlifewhisperer.com. I'm always happy just to have a heart-to-heart conversation, to coach you through what you're going through. I would love to help you, whether you are struggling with your health, your happiness, your relationship with yourself, or feeling like, okay, I'm ready to go silver, but I don't have the moxie to make it happen. Do reach out and do check out Alexis's products, Silvering Beauty, amazing stuff. And actually, should mention too, you can join us. We are actually both going to be at a Tangled Silver retreat in September. I'll put the information in the show notes if you want to, jump on that. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be like 100, 150 silver sisters all hanging out. I think we're gonna go like hiking, paddleboarding. There's
that's
going to
good.
be all kinds of things. I know Robin, who is head of Tangled Silver Magazine, is cooking up all kinds of good stuff. So do join the fun wherever you are at with your hair journey. And Alexis, thank you so much for joining. This has been a total delight.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks again, everyone. I'm Dr. Ellen, the Midlife Whisperer. We'll catch you soon.